You are Locked On Heat Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, Heat fans? Welcome to your Locked On Heat Postcast. Whoa, well, that was a little hot there. Wow. Okay, sorry about that. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, and tough one for Miami tonight. I don't know what to say about this one or how to even do this show at this point. Honestly, it's been one of those days. But 111 to 110, the Kings beat your Miami Heat tonight on a putback by Domantas Sabonis at the buzzer, and it just was another bad loss for Miami where they were just terrible in the third quarter. Less than a second left when Sabonis made the shot, and they were down 15 points. They rallied to beat the Heat, and it's a game of runs, and you understand that, but Miami was awful in the third quarter again, 37 to 17, and Bam got his Olympic gold medal night, scored 16 in the game, but a far cry from the 32 he had in Mexico City. International Bam, right? International Bam. Not there tonight. So there you have it. That's about the story of this game. And, Miami was in the beginning, it looked pretty good for Miami as the first quarter wasn't bad, 25-22. And it ended up being really the story was the third quarter again, to be honest with you. DeAaron Fox had 28 for the Kings. DeMar DeRozan, 26. That backcourt's as good as any, I think, in the NBA right now. And, Jimmy had 27 points, 15 in the fourth quarter. Tyler with 27 tonight, Bam 16, and Larson, the rookie, with 13. Terry Rozier, 30-foot heave at the buzzer, missed for Miami. They were 7 of 12 from the foul line in the fourth. They could have made a couple more of those. The Kings are just 6-31 all time at Miami, and man, it was crazy. Just one of those things. And Kevin Love back on the bench for the Heat after missing the first 5 games with a personal matter, and Jaime Jaquez Jr. had gastroenteritis, and he couldn't play tonight. And look, there's the thing that really got, and I'm going to get into this in a minute. Let me just get things started here with the show. You're watching your Locked On Heat Postcast. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Let me see here. Where are we at? There we are. Where'd it go? Trying to find something here. There it is. Okay, so first things first, I want to let you know that your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. That's right. Introducing the Locked On Heat daily newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. It's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Heat newsletter. And tonight's show is brought to you by FanDuel. And let's see. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets. That's good, right? $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. All right. So 111, 110, and Miami just about to go on a 6-game road trip, and you're 3-3, 1-3 at home. And that's the thing, you want to win 30 games at home in the NBA, right? You want to win 30 games at home, and that's a big barometer, a big measuring stick for a competitive team, for a contending team, is you want to win. What did I say? I forgot. 30 home games. You want to win 30 home games, and the Heat are 1-3, and they've been really bad for the last year and a half, 2 years at home. So going on the road might not be the worst thing, but normally you lose like that. You're 1-3 at home. You go on the road, it gets a lot worse. You're going to play the Suns. You're going to play the Nuggets. You're going to play the Wolves, and that's a 6-game road trip that you're starting against 3 of the best teams in the West right now. And as the Suns played in the finals a couple years ago, the Nuggets champions, and then playing in the finals again, right? So, and then losing, you know what I mean? So it is one of those things where you're playing some great teams and you're not playing well. And this third quarter stuff, man, I mean, 37 to 17, they led by 15 points early in the third quarter, and they're outscored 37 to 17 in that quarter. And here's how bad it's gotten. Okay. And you might think I'm exaggerating. You might think for a second there that, hey, Grease, what are you talking about here? The third quarter's not that bad, all right? Do you see Spo's arms crossed behind you? That's how bad the third quarter's been. That picture was taken in the third quarter. I guarantee it was. Now, listen, the Heat were up by 15 early in the third quarter. They have been outscored. Are you ready for this? 137 to 71. They've been outscored in the third quarters at home this season. Let me repeat. They have been outscored at home at the Kaseya Center on Pat Riley Court. 137 to 71 in the third quarters at home this season. They've been outscored by 20 or more points in third quarters 8 times in 1,119 games at their current home arena, twice this season. So they got to figure this out, man. They got to figure this out, and it's team-wide. I mean, they're all playing well. They're shooting well. They're out of their flow. He's changed a couple substitution patterns a little bit, and hoping maybe that helps. But overall, it hasn't really done all that much. It hasn't really done all that much to help when you think about it, because it stays the same or gets worse. And one thing we know in life about things is if they're not changing, you got to fix them. You got to do something. You got to throw a monkey wrench. You got to do something drastic sometimes, or you just got to scrap the whole thing. And obviously, they're not going to scrap the whole thing. It's just, is this going to be the year that this version of the Heat, you know what I mean? And you keep getting new pieces plugged in, but is this the end for Jimmy? Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of things at stake this year for the organization. There are a ton of those things. And things have not gotten off to the best start. And it's early, and you have plenty of time to fix it, and you have the whole Heat thing, and 2 years ago they made the finals anyway from the play-in, and last year they didn't because Jimmy got hurt. But you know the point. You know the point that I'm making here, and that is that you can't continue to have these things happen and think it's going to be okay. You can't have a backcourt combining for 54 points against you. You know what I mean? You just can't. And that is what Fox and DeRozan did tonight. Sabonis had 16 points and 16 rebounds with 7 assists. He's only shooting 12 times. He should be a 20-point guy. Easy. So you got DeRozan, you got Fox, you got Sabonis. The Kings are going to be a good team this year once they figure it out. DeRozan, obviously one of the better players in the league. And, Jimmy had 27 tonight. Tyler had 27. They kept pace with those two guys, but Rozier had a little bit of a down night. Jovic hasn't scored at all in a few games. He had 4. Bam had 16 fewer than the last game when he had 32. And Duncan hasn't given you a whole lot this year, although he was 3 for 3 from 3 tonight, and that's what you're going to get from him when he's playing well and what you want. And Larson gave you 13. But it just wasn't a great effort from Miami tonight. And, we're going to look at the team stats when we keep this, look at the team stats now. How about that? We'll look at the team stats right now, and we'll take you through them. And, Sacramento shot better than Miami. The 3-point shots, Miami was a little bit better. They were 15 of 36. The Kings 10 of 27. So had they hit their threes, this could have been a blowout for the Kings. The free throws, Miami missed 9, 70% from the line. They haven't been good this year from the free throw line, and that's a big difference in these games. The free throws, 13 of 15 for the Kings, 21 of 30 from the Heat, and that's not a good ratio. Rebounds, very close. The assists, very close. Turnovers, close. Fast break points, even. Points in paint, 16 more for Sacramento. We've been getting dominated in the paint night in and night out. They had way more fouls than the Heat did, but the Heat ended up not being able to, they don't cover. It's the under. They don't even win. So it was a bad home loss for Miami, and it's been like that all year long, and they've been crushed in the third quarter, 37 to 17, and just as another bad example of Miami's poor play in the third quarter. And it isn't going anywhere. It isn't getting any better. And maybe when they're on the road, they can galvanize. Maybe when they're on the road, they can figure this out, because that's been the MO of this team, right? They've been really good on the road. They're able to keep it together. They're able to walk into other people's buildings and keep that cohesion and keep that execution going and flowing. So I don't know what it is about the home cooking, man. I don't know what it is about the home cooking, but it hasn't been working out so great for Miami this year and in the last couple of years, to be honest with you. So overall, just one of those things that's tough to take. You're watching your Locked On Heat postcast. Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. The Heat lose tonight, a very tough one, 111 to 110. Sabonis with the putback at the buzzer wins it for the Kings. Offensive rebounds have killed the Heat this year. No different on that putback in that game winner. Jimmy and Tyler, 27 each. The third quarter blues. I got the blues. And the Heat will be in Phoenix Wednesday night. All right, your Locked On Heat postcast still to come, by the way. We're going to look at the team stats, and we're going to break it down even further. And then we're going to give you, obviously, the graphics, the player of the game, the turning point, the final score graphic. And on top of that, we're going to look ahead to this road trip. 6 games on the road. Going to be a big one for Miami. You're watching your Locked On Heat postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, at Jim Grease _ Grease. And we are The Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, I get a chance to tell you about our friends at BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sorry here. Whoa, this thing's crazy. There we go. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves in this life that we're trying our best to make sense of everything. And in this crazy world, that isn't easy. Well, here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, including yourself. And, it's interesting because I've been in counseling before, and I don't see any copy here, so I guess I'm just supposed to go. But I've been in counseling throughout my life. I've had plenty of times where I've done it as a kid. I was in counseling, had trouble in school, had trouble sleeping, was brainwashed and put on medications like a lot of other people. But really, sometimes you just need someone to talk to and someone to help you. And a lot of times in our own lives, we don't have those people day in and day out. And that's what counseling is for me. To me, that's what therapy's for. And I think beyond that, having that sympathetic ear, someone who's not in your life every day and doesn't have a quote unquote dog in the fight, but just there for you, just to listen to you and just to help you feel better about yourself. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp's awesome, right? It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. On the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. And let's see here. All right. Okay. All right, there we go. So yeah, apologize again if you I don't think I even said it at the top, but we had a late start tonight, some technical difficulties, and got it figured out, got it fixed. And sometimes that happens, especially in a long season, but we got it ready to go, and we're here. So the Miami Heat, that's more than we could say for them coming out of the locker room after halftime. That's, you know what I mean? Just been a rough go for them in that regard. 37-17, the Kings outscore them tonight. Look, the Kings scored 22, 26, and 26 in the first, second, and fourth quarters. The Heat scored 25, 36, and 32. The third, the Kings scored 37, and the Heat scored 17. And it's been that way. We said it. 137-71, the Heat have been outscored at home in the third quarter of the season. And so obviously that's not going to lead to a lot of success, not going to lead to a lot of things that really move the needle for you as a basketball team. And we already looked at the team stats. We already looked at the box score for this game. And it was more of the same for Miami. And you had Jimmy getting to the line and making his free throws. He shot reasonably well from the field and good from the line. You had Bam about a little over 50%. He only took 15 shots. Tyler was, 5 of 11 for 3, 9 of 18 overall with 27 points. And, when you look at Miami shooting the 3, it was more the lapse in the third quarter than anything else. The overall game numbers worked out okay. They actually worked out okay. And let's see. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. So anyway, like we said, it was the Sabonis putback, and it was one of those plays where he's a great player, man, and he's always in the right spot. He's grabbing rebounds, he's hitting people with assists. DeMar DeRozan and DeAaron Fox, they'd have had trouble with backcourts like that, but they're very good together. These guys play really well off one another. It's early in the season. The Kings are going to be really good. So it's not necessarily that losing to the Kings is the worst thing in the world, but you're at home and you're 1-3. You're at home and you have not lost to the best teams at home. And I mean, look, the Kings are a good team. They're not a great team, but they're a good team. You know what I'm saying? And you lost to them at home tonight, and you've lost to the Magic. And look, it's been Banchero and it's been Franz Wagner. You lost to the Knicks at home when it was their front court and Cat went nuts with 40+. The Kings tonight was Sabonis, but it was the backcourt that beat you, interestingly enough. And so the Heat again, and they're badly outscored in the paint. You know what I mean? So it was really, really tough for Miami to overcome all that. in this game and get the win. And they weren't able to do that. And all year long, it's been very hard for them coming out of that locker room. So the defensive intensity is always there from Miami. The defensive intensity is never the issue with the Heat. And so when I think about Miami and their struggles, it's always shooting. So maybe something with the rotations and the time when Jimmy comes out of the game. He comes out of the game pretty early in the third quarter. And I don't know if, Spo's been tinkering with the rotations anyway. You got some rookies in there. And night in and night, you didn't have Jaquez Jr. tonight. And that was a big one for Miami. That dude's hustle. He's 10 points a game, 6-7 rebounds. That's something that they missed tonight. So he was missed in this game. And without him, they didn't play as well. And he's a spark, too. He's an energy guy. He comes off the bench. He gives you everything. He's hitting the deck. He's diving after balls. He's got the intensity. He's got the hair flying. The crowd loves him. He just played in Mexico City, where his dad's from in Mexico. So, I mean, that's a big loss tonight with the gastroenteritis. It'll be all right. And then you got the road trip, 6 games coming up, and we're going to talk about that momentarily and let you know what the Heat might need to do on that trip to get to the point where they can start feeling better. And here's the point, right? It's at home where this is happening. That 137-71 scoring disadvantage is at home. They've been all right in the third quarter on the road. It's been at home. It's always been at home in the third quarter. There's something to that. And I know the Heat have somebody in the organization for everything. So maybe they can, they can figure that out, because at the end of the day, you really need to figure something out in that third quarter, whether it's defensive rotations, whether it's offense and the way that you're calling plays and running plays, your substitution patterns. There's something there to that that's contributing mightily to your struggles every night. There's something to that that's contributing mightily to those struggles every night. And tonight it was the same. The Kings came out in the third quarter. They were on fire, man. And let's take a look, right? When you're talking about that with the third quarter, and this is the way that it started for Miami. It is Jimmy Butler with a jumper. DeAaron Fox makes one. And then, you know what I mean? It's just Sacramento. But the Heat, nobody could score early in that quarter. And it stayed, 63-48, 63-50, 63-53. Here come the Kings on that run. And that big lead for Miami, which was 61-48 to start the fourth quarter. In that case, it's 63-53, and that stayed that way for about 5 possessions. And it was a real rough go for a while. But then the Kings got hot, and it was De'Aaron Fox, Keon Ellis with the three-pointer, De'Aaron Fox again, and Keegan Murray with a dunk, but De'Aaron Fox, and again, De'Aaron Fox with a huge third quarter. And DeRozan started going too toward the end, but it was really the third quarter of De'Aaron Fox that just destroyed Miami. They had no answer for him whatsoever, and DeRozan at times too, but it was De'Aaron Fox in the third, and he's one of the better point guards in the league, man. And he's playing in Sacramento, so he doesn't get the attention that a lot of the other guys do, but he is one of the best. And he put it on the Heat tonight in the third, and that was a big part of what happened. You're watching your Locked On Heat postcast. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, 37-17 in the third, 137-71 in the third at home this year so far. From Miami, that's the story of the game. That and the points in the paint, and you blow a 15-point lead, and yeah, that's what it is. But I'll tell you what, it's game in, it's game out. Locked On Heat will have you covered, and we have you this weekend with the Dolphins on Monday night, and then the Canes on Saturday before that against Georgia Tech. Heat games on every other day in between there. So it's a busy week for all the Miami teams, and it's going to be a lot of fun being here for all that. But yeah, it's exciting. And this is the Locked On Heat postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, and having a great time with you here tonight overall. And hey, we still got those graphics coming up, the player of the game, the turning point, the final score. And we are going to look ahead to that 6-game road trip as we continue with your Locked On Heat postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. And oh, baby, you know what it is. Get ready to tackle the NFL action, NBA for that matter, as well at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. There you have it. All right, 111-110. The Kings beat the Heat. Miami outscored the Kings by 3 in the first, by 10 in the second, built a 15-point lead. And then in the third quarter, man, they watched it all disappear. 37-17, they're outscored by the Kings. It ends up being a disaster, and they're behind by a whole bunch heading into the fourth quarter. And they outscored the Kings by 6 in the fourth, but it was a putback by Sabonis with about a second left that ended up winning the game for the Kings. And so that was a tough one for Miami. Obviously, the way they lost the game and the way that things fell apart in that third quarter was the key for them. But okay, but let's look at this road trip they have coming up, because obviously we covered this game. We hit the boxes. We hit the team stats. We hit the third quarter. We told you it's all DeAaron Fox, and you got that. But when you're looking at this road trip for Miami right now, and I'm going to pull up the standings and all that too. Let's see here. We got this with the NBA, and it's been, it's early in the season, right? And so many teams get off to slow starts, and we know this. It happens, right? So the Heat are going to play the Suns. The Suns with a 6-1 start, man. They're balling out with Booker and KD coming off their Olympic gold medal, playing great. Bam. International Bam. We need International Bam. 32 points in Mexico City. The Warriors, the Dubs are 6-1. Steve Kerr, look at that, right? But the Suns, that's who the Heat play on Wednesday night. They're 6-1. You got Booker, you got Durant, you're on the road in Phoenix, and that's going to be a tough one. And those guys are both shooting crazy. You got Bradley Beal. They can really score, but they've cleaned it up on defense, and they're doing a real good job there. Then in game 2 of that road trip, you're going to Denver, and the Nuggets are 4-3, and now they're writing about the Nugs wasting Jokic's prime, which is crazy, right? And now all of a sudden they're wasting his prime. And then the Timberwolves, who are 4-3 with Julius Randle replacing Cat and so forth, conference finalists a year ago, along with the Mavericks, who are 4-3, but the T-Wolves 4-3, and that's who they play on Friday. And then on Sunday, or on Friday, they play the Nuggets. On Sunday, they play the T-Wolves. So it's Suns Wednesday, Friday Nuggets, Sunday is the Timberwolves. And the rest of that 6-game road trip, as it continues, after they play those teams, will be the Pistons and the Pacers. And both of those are road games against the Pacers. And let's see. It's Gainbridge Fieldhouse is where that game's going to be. And let's see. The one before it is going to be at, let's see. 1 second here. I don't know if this is a mistake on the website on ESPN.com, or it said both will be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. That has to be a mistake. I don't know. Maybe they would never be back-to-back road games against the same team. So that's what it says, and I'm not real sure about that. So we'll have to make sure we get that corrected for you or figured out for you as we move forward. But as of right now, I'll tell you this, okay? I'll say that it's imperative that the Heat figure out on this road trip, they get some continuity back, they get some cohesion back, and they figure this third quarter thing out, because without that, they're fine. The points in the paint, they're going to lose that a lot this year. The teams have big size advantage on Miami, and you're going to make up for that with a lot of deflections. You're going to make for that with a lot of other things that you can really, take to the bank, but that's not going to be one of them. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to win a lot of those points in the paint with this team. The way it's constructed right now, you're going to lose, and you just want to keep it to a minimum, right? You definitely want to keep it to a minimum. But man, I'm a little under the weather. I'm getting a little under the weather here, guys, and it's about that time of year. But what a weekend, right? The Canes get to be undefeated, and 9-0. They go to 9-0 with that win over Duke and a big comeback. They had the 28-3 run against them. They closed the game on a 36-3 run of their own. Then the Dolphins, man, they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Josh Allen scores on 5 straight drives, 3 touchdowns in the middle of the game-winning field goal, 61 yards, helmet-to-helmet hit on Poyer. And the Dolphins lose a must-win game, but 3 games in a row against some teams that are winnable, at the Rams, the Raiders, the Patriots. You could be a game under 500 in 3 weeks. I did a show on ESPN Radio last night with a guy who said that the the Dolphins should start trading their guys like Tyreek and Waddle and all them. And I don't agree with that. You win these next 3 games, you're a game under 500. And from that point forward, everything looks okay. So I'm really excited about that. So we'll have the postcast with the Canes on Saturday. That's a 12 p.m. kickoff against Georgia Tech. So about 3:30-ish, we'll be on with the show. And then the Dolphins on Monday Night Football at the Rams with the whole world watching in L.A. Tua was magnificent this past week. They do that again, even though Nakua and Kupp are playing together for the Rams right now. So Dolphins on Monday after the Canes on Saturday. And then the Heat tonight, Wednesday at Phoenix, right? Friday at Minnesota or at Denver, and then Sunday at Minnesota. So that's going to be great with all those postcasts we have coming your way. A lot of Heat games. So they have plenty of time to get this thing going. No reason to push the panic button. For some reason, though, these last couple of years, they have not been good at home. And, you know, it's the South Beach effect sometimes, man, or now it's the downtown Miami effect where teams come in and you know, if they're in a day early, they're going to go out, they're going to get drunk, and the Heat are going to blow them out the next night. Well, maybe Miami has a little bit of that. And I'm not saying they're getting drunk. I'm saying like being at home, something's distracting them, their lives. I mean, who knows with these athletes today? I don't know. But I do know that it's something the Miami Heat need to figure out. But tonight, not a good one for them as they drop one to the Kings. All right, before we get out of here, let's take a look at these graphics, and we'll give you our final score first and foremost. Here we go. 111. And they did fix the graphics a little bit. And Sam, if you're watching or listening, the bottom one still isn't big enough, or maybe they're not big enough to have zeros in there. And we should try all zeros because the 111 fit and the 110 didn't. So that is 110, not 10. And it is the Sacramento Kings with the win tonight. And then the turning point was the Heat outscored 37-17 in the third quarter. That should be DeAaron Fox up there, not DeMar DeRozan, but outscored 37-17 in the third quarter, 137-71 overall. Excuse me, this year. And then the star of the game for Miami is Jimmy the Butler. Until everybody sees that cartoon on TikTok, I'm not going to stop going Jimmy the Butler. If you just Google Jimmy the Butler, oh my God, some hilarious. I mean, especially a couple years ago when they made the finals run and beat the Celtics. Oh, Jimmy the Butler. So there, Jimmy the Butler, 27 points tonight, 15 in the fourth. He was 8 of 9 from the line. And, you know, Jimmy played a real good game tonight, and Tyler had 27. So Jimmy Butler is going to be all right. You know what he's going to do. He's consistent. He's earned it. He's proved it. And he's going to keep doing that. So that's what I'm going to tell you tonight. Don't panic. The third quarters are killing them. It's a long season. The Heat have proven no matter where they're seated, they can make that run. You want to see them win those home games, though. But sometimes going on the road is the best medicine, especially to cities like to Phoenix is all right. But Phoenix, Denver, Minnesota is not exactly New York, LA, Chicago, if you know what I'm saying. And man, for this team, I'm glad there's no team in Vegas. But I'll tell you this, okay? Those cities are kind of lame and they shut down early. So, yeah, I think the Heat will be focused on this road trip. And let's hope they can get it back together. Again, Wednesday, Suns, Friday, Nuggets with the Heat, Saturday, Canes, Georgia Tech, Sunday, Heat, Timberwolves, Monday, Dolphins, and Rams. What a run it's going to be. The Heat going on a 6-game road trip. We'll have all of them for you right here. I'll be on live right after the games immediately. Tonight we had a couple technical difficulties. We got them figured out. Sometimes that happens over the course of a long season. But we're here night in and night out. We're here after every game. Loving this on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. That's all there is, Heat fans. There is no more. Your Locked On Heat postcast on your Monday night. 111-110. The Heat lose the Kings. Sabonis with a putback with a second left. And Wednesday night, they'll be in Phoenix to face Booker and KD and Bradley Beal and the Suns. We'll see how they do in the third quarter that night. Until then, remind you, we'll be right there with the postcast right after that. And your favorite podcast has a new newsletter. That's right, the Locked On Heat daily newsletter, one stop for Ultimate Team and League coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Heat newsletter. Keep your game tight and your mind right, Heat fans. We are out.